Welcome to the Cobcast, where we uncover the truth, ignite your mindset, and explore the realms of health, wealth, and conscious living. Join me in exploring the hidden secrets of the world, unraveling the mysteries of cryptocurrency, and also cultivating a mindset for financial health. I'm your host, Chris O'Brien, reminding you that when in doubt, it's time to zoom out and see the bigger picture. So get ready for an uplifting experience to help you come out better.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cobcast. This is episode 11. I'm your host, Chris O'Brien, and as always, make sure you guys subscribe, like, leave a comment, share this podcast with people, whether it's on Spotify, Apple iTunes, or any other platform that you feel called. Without you guys sharing this and getting this good word out, that's the only way we're going to be able to reach the people and share the good word. And I'm excited to talk about something today that has obviously been on a lot of people's minds, given the state of the world that we're in and also the timeline that we're in. And that is the elections that have just passed on November 5th. So this episode, I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper on my perspective of it, how I've seen it from a zoomed out lens, and zooming in and really knowing and focusing on going from here, what can we do and what can we control to make sure that the best is truly yet to come. As many of you guys have been following me for a while or have seen previous episodes, the world is currently undergoing a great awakening, so to speak, an awakening for mankind, a liberation of mankind, a freeing of the mind from this manipulation, this coercion, this fraud, this corruption, this tyranny that we've given and lost our power to over probably just about 100 years, if not longer, to our centralized governments around the world, especially here in the US, and what we're going to do next and how we can make an impact and make a change with the big shifts that are occurring. So I'm excited to dive in. Again, as always, I ask you just be present. You take a little deep breath for yourself, drop your shoulders, relax into the moment, and just hear some of the things that I have to say. And like I always remind you guys, use discernment. Obviously, do not believe everything I say. There are things that I may miss. There are facts that I may get wrong or right. This is just me sharing what I see, how I perceive things, and then translating it into a way that's simple, logical, sound, and grounded to help give you a little bit of more of an insight, having you have your own aha moments and connecting your own dots. And that's what we're all here to do as we have this great awakening. So the first thing I do want to discuss, and before we even get into like election talk, obviously many of you are waking up to many things, and we have to get an idea of how this mess really began. And we have to go back in terms of how our government was founded and how it was discovered. And without getting too lost or deep into the history of things, simply put, the people of this country, right? America, the country of America, not the United States of America, which is the U.S. incorporation in 1871. This country was built with strong values and morals. Obviously, there's been so much that has happened when it comes to colonization, when it happens to the indigenous people, timelines and generations. But just in the last 100 years, we've really lost our power. We've lost our voice. We've lost our power. We've given it away. We've become a victim. We've become dependent on a system that we thought that we created from the start was designed to help us, protect us, care for us, support us, provide for us, create for us. And we've given it to something called the government, right? The government, what? The U.S. government. Well, we have to go back a little bit and realize that the government was created by we the people. And at the beginning of creation of the creation of the government only had about 20 things, maybe less, that they were responsible for doing. And they were technically, quote unquote, it's crazy to think that's the case now, they were the public servants. Not us. We weren't the slaves. Like, we were the ones in charge. We had all the power. And before the government was even created, the military had to be established. Why? Because the military was kind of the person that would never intervene. They wouldn't get involved, but they would be kind of standing from afar, with the binoculars, or kind of sitting back and looking at what's everyone doing on the playground. And if things got out of hand, if things got bad, they would have to step in. Well, what happened was, over time, evil knew this, and they couldn't just do one event because the military would stop it right away. So they had to slowly, day by day, bill by bill, choice by choice, blackmail by blackmail, all these little intangibles that have happened. They had to slowly do that over time to a point where the military couldn't stop all the corruption. The corruption got so bad, so blatant, so rampant that there was no way to stop it. And then now all of a sudden our military got infiltrated with traitors, with treasonous actors, with people that are criminals, people that have nefarious agendas, puppets, right? Being moved by the puppet masters. And they've infiltrated the CIA, the FBI, these three-letter agencies that we have always deemed as our friend, as the good guys, right? The people that will take care of us. There's movies about them. There's shows about them, crime scenes and preventing wars. And we see the good guys save the day, and the U.S. government and military complexes are saviors. And we've pretty much become brainwashed through the mainstream media, an Operation Mockingbird, a CIA operation, to keep us dumbed down and quiet so we don't question anything. And so all we focus on now is just surviving, barely getting by, paycheck to paycheck, while they print money, while they push mandates, while they chemical our food, while they poison our water, pollute our skies, they destroy our soils, they separate the family, they take our power away and manipulate with the media, they censor us online. They focus on the education system to indoctrinate you so you do question things. And it goes on and on and on. It's like we're waking up from a MK Ultra experiment. If you guys don't know what that is, research that a little bit. It's a dark operation that was pretty much used to manipulate people, control people, actually get people to carry out acts of the government that were nefarious and going against humankind. So we got in a pretty big mess, right? So originally, the roles were flipped. We, the people, were the creators. We were the elites. We were the ones in charge. We were God's men and children. We were the ones that created the laws, that established the Constitution. We have the Founding Fathers, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration, all of these things that we still are taught, but we were never told that slowly those powers were stripped from us, quietly, secretly over time. Not only were they stripped here, they were also stripped around the world, where these deep state shadow governments can then go ahead and start infiltrating, holding these central governments hostage while threatening them with a foreign central bank, which we'll tap into shortly. And all of a sudden, you have nowhere else to play except play the game. Learn the game, the rigged, fraudulent game that no one loses except this small 1%. So imagine these servants, these public servants at first now realize that they could take the power, they could invert society, they can manipulate, they can use symbols and different types of communication and back channels and front groups and shell companies and corporations and three-letter agencies, and they now can create a system. They can create the matrix. They can create this fake world that many of us don't even realize we're in because the veil has been so thick, where they can act out on nefarious things, evil things, malevolent things with trafficking, drugs, crime, poverty, war, pain, disease, corruption, manufactured chaos, terrorism, and so much more. I know, a little dark, right? But don't worry, it gets better here, and stay with me. So as time goes on, all of a sudden, new education things, new institutions, new structures, new acts, new documents, new laws, new legislation gets passed. And now you have big pharma forming. Now you have mainstream media forming, getting bigger. Now you have lobbyists in Wall Street getting bigger. You have the stock market getting bigger. You have big tech corporations getting bigger. You have these chemical companies and pesticide companies getting bigger. You have these EPA companies getting bigger, CIA, FBI, Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, the military industrial complex get bigger. And they've gotten so big that they had so much power. So much power where if you were to look at it years ago, one that was waking up then, maybe 10 years ago, depending how long you've been awake to this, you would feel hopeless. Like there is no chance we're going to change this. Like we are literally stuck. And that's really to a point where some people have gotten of taking what's called the black pill, where there's no hope. Regardless, no matter what happens, everything is bad, everything is evil, everything is negative, everything is corrupt. And to an extent, there is merit in that. To an extent, there is truth in that. Yet for all that corruption, all that tyranny, all that control, all that chaos, there has to be the balance. There has to be good. There has to be something still out there. There has to be someone still fighting. There has to be someone still speaking out, someone doing things at a higher level, or else we were on path to go to what they want was a depopulation agenda of 500 million people compared to 8 billion. Can you imagine? And that was on the Georgia Guidestones, which are no longer with us. So thanks to certain events that occurred, wink, wink, they are no longer established as a way for the New World Order to move forward. Now, this new agenda, this New World Order agenda, by the way, stemmed from this small group of people that found ways to manipulate the world, manipulate the people, find ways to invert things, expand their evil agendas through central banking, which the Rothschilds, for example, started way back in the 1800s after the Battle of Waterloo, where they found a way to crash the European stock market and then buy everything up for pennies on the dollar. Once they learned how to manipulate the markets, they then went ahead and did that around the world. So a lot of our problems today and the industries that I just mentioned, the sectors, the certain corporations, the entities, the lobbyists, the government agencies, the pharmaceuticals, the mainstream media, the big tech, all of these corporations, all of this, like we say, follow the money. Follow the money. Our current system has become so fraudulent, and that's why this election was not just any other election. It was beyond just selecting a president to sit in a White House making orders and signing papers and kissing babies and making promises. That is a whole old paradigm we're leaving, and we'll talk about that. It is so much more what this 4-year election was. It was about flipping the roles back, power to the people, away from a centralized government, which came from a centralized banking oligarchy, a monopoly, so to speak, of central banks that have really destroyed this planet, whether it's the United States, whether it's been Africa, the European Union, in China and India, in the Middle East, South America, Venezuela, you name it. The central banks have run rampant, and they've found ways to suppress the currencies, manipulate currency, blackmail politicians, blackmail leaders and activists, blackmail celebrities and endorsements and advertisements, found ways to pretty much use this weapon of mass destruction to get their way. And that was how the New World Order agenda would be played out, where the world would have to succumb to the US dollar, which was oil-backed, based on oil, a petrodollar, which was also a debt-based instrument tool. So there's no way out of debt. We're going to completely put this whole world into a series of debt notes. That's the fiat reserve notes. This isn't money. It actually says a debt note. It's a debt instrument where there's debt that continues to now here in 2024, we're $36 trillion in debt. $36 trillion. We're approaching this massive hole that we can never get out. And the only way to get out of it is if you collapse it. And so all of a sudden, when you start following the money and realize that every industry, every corrupt institution, or anything that has to do with corruption and criminality and laundering and trafficking and all of these things that are completely nefarious in this evil agenda, have all been stemmed from our financial system that is slow, outdated, broken, corrupt, insecure, hackable, manipulatable, and with private ledgers where trillions of dollars are being used for laundering, for black ops, for military operations, for sting operations, for drug trafficking, human trafficking, and so much more. And again, I know this is pretty deep. So I'm glad you're here with me and being open to this because it does get better. So we have to just identify this fly on the wall, this hidden evil deep state agenda cabal that has found a way to strip the power from the people, doing so consenting. We were pretty much consented our power away without even saying, yes, here's our power. But they found a way that we had to rely on them for our livelihood, to keep a roof over our head, to keep food on the table, to keep the traffic lights working, to keep our internet on, our air conditioning going. Like so much, think about it. So much of our world is predicated off this grid, off this internet, off this web. Yet if the grid went down, the internet went down, how many of us would even know what to do? Start a fire, barter, trade, create shelter, create energy, safety, security, foundation. Where would we go? What would we say? So we've lost this own touch with reality. We've lost this realization that we are living in some type of maybe simulation, that a lot of the things that we see in the world are beyond the six senses that we typically have. We can only see so much with the human eye, but they've done such a good job of keeping us quiet, keeping us toxic, numb, dumbed down, clueless, confused, manipulated, controlled, and in chaos that we can't even think straight. We can't even create sentences. We can't even question the narrative. We can't even think beyond the surface level because our minds can't even comprehend. And when we go to these deeper parts of ourselves, it's scary. And so we resist. We have this thing called cognitive dissonance. When you're proven with a new set of facts, a new reality, or a new awareness that goes or contradicts your current reality with your belief systems, your upbringings, your thoughts, your habits, and your patterns. It's all about programming. And they found ways to program us where we don't fight back, where we don't question, where we're in solitude, where they've dumbed us down with our food, with our water, with our information, with our energy, with the lighting, with the plasma, with the technology, with our mindset, with stress, with programs and stereotypes, racism, religion, ideology, celebrity. It's crazy. We have become so disconnected to who we truly are. We have been so lost in the mix of where we've come from. How did we get here? What's our purpose for being here? Like, is this all really what life is? Work 9 to 5, 30, 40 years of my life, start a family, get married, watch TV when I can, go to the movies, can't wait till Friday, go to church Sunday, and then do it week after week after week after week. Years go by, nothing really changes. We look a little older, we get a little bit heavier, our health starts to go down, we start losing hair, we call it aging, and then we die. Like, holy crap. Think about God's most precious creative design, you and me, and that's life. That's not the life we were designed to live. That's not the life I believe I'm designed to live, and I hope you're not designed to live either. And for millions out there, that is the life they want to live. Comfort, security, safety, no worries, stimulation, dopamine, quick fixes, easy rewards, carrot on a stick. Life is easy. Don't bother me. Leave me alone. And all power to them. We all have free will in this. Yet for many of those people, including myself, and for those that have lived a life below their standard or below their potential, I think they're starting to wake up. I think they're starting to realize that there's more to life than just working a 9 to 5. I think they're starting to realize there's more to life than just watching the news every night or going to see the movies every day or going scrolling and numbing themselves or partying or watching a football game. There is so much more to life than just doing the same mundane things over and over to look and hopefully find some internal feeling or some type of excitement or some type of emotion to fill in certain gaps that maybe we didn't have growing up. Maybe we didn't have when we were young, because then it goes back to how the government and how this matrix has formulated this world where we literally slowly lose our power, draining our life force, keeping us in conflict, keeping us fighting with each other, fighting with ourselves, stressing ourselves out, overloading ourselves, just brainwashing ourselves, manipulating ourselves, confusing our own self. It's crazy to think that the very pains and discomforts and challenges that many people face today, we have done it to ourselves. And we did it to ourselves because someone was controlling us and they found a way to control us from the inside out. And that's what they have found a way to do for so long. And so now, with all that said, and how much power we have lost and how much we have given away, where the government today does thousands of things. And I guarantee you, and you know this, how many of those things do we approve of? How many of those things do we vote for? How many of those things have we sound off on? How many of those things have we agreed to? How many of those things have we given a thumbs up or said, no, this is not what you're doing. Do not do this. We do not want this. Nothing. Because for years and years and years, and this is where the fake elections have been coming in, these presidents that have been selected, not elected, not voted in, have all been planned. All the way back from Bush, Clinton, Obama, you're going deeper and deeper and deeper, all the way back to the 1900s where the Federal Reserve, the Titanic, Roosevelt, all of these different years where we completely gave our power to the U.S. government, our big brother, who we've been told is our best friend and will take care of us and provide us the food, provide us with money, give us internet, give us Wi-Fi, give us energy, give us television, give us toys and entertainment and bread and circuses, just so we don't say, wait a minute, who's behind all this? Wait a minute, why is this all happening? Hold on, wait a minute. Who, what, where, when, why, how? Who, what, where, when, why, how? And that's asking the questions. They do not want you to question everything. The U.S. government prays that the people stop questioning and just comply. They don't want you to question the narrative. They don't want you to question their agendas. They don't want you to question why they do certain things. And that's why they found ways for censorship online. That's why they have found ways to literally eliminate people that have gone against the narrative, that have shared that they have found cures or they have found new methods of transportation or new energy that can be free. Shout out Nikola Tesla. So we have to realize that up until this last election, even the last couple, we've been up against a pretty big machine. It's a machine. It's this system. It's this structure. It's this left brain, linear, constructive way of compartmentalizing, quantifying, selecting, analyzing, and boxing us into these little components and compartments without seeing a bigger picture of holistically a beautiful world where we can create heaven on earth. It's far from it. The heaven on earth, that is something we create as people. But right now, our earth has been plagued with war. It's been plagued with pandemics. It's been plagued with pain, with poverty, with scarcity, with death, with disease, with corruption, with chaos, with control, with mainstream corruption and fraudulent messaging, with fake news, to a point where we don't even know it's real anymore. We don't even know what's right and wrong anymore. We've lost so much to our connection of our intuition and our realization that we can decipher what is good and bad, what is right from wrong. And that's why you are seeing people right now that are unconsciously or unknowingly siding with corruption, siding with evil, because they feel as if they do that, they stand for something, their voice is heard, they feel like they're seen, they feel like they can be saved, they feel like they're no longer a victim or a target, and they're finding ways for something or someone outside of them, like the government, to come in and solve all of their problems. And that is not sustainable. And that is not good. And if anything, that takes you deeper into a hole of tyranny, to a point where we have no guns, we have no free speech, we're locked down, you can't do anything unless you are associated with their new social credit type system that they wanted to implement in 2020 or 2030. We're not going down that path. So pray you're still with me on this. I know it was a lot to take in. It's a lot. It's like, holy crap, how do you see all this and know all this? I don't even know. Half the times I just realize that sometimes a lot of things that I say come from God speaking through me, through intuition, through instant access to certain parts of my brain that I've practiced and learning how to unlock, receiving and remembering information and data and analytics. And I'm very left brain, but I also have a right brain vision of the big picture. And so we have to look at, with our presidential elections now going to what we just experienced recently, that we're not just in a typical election anymore. We're not selecting a president, right, of a bankrupt USA Incorporated, a corporation that is based in Washington, D.C., that is foreign. It actually is not a part of our country, America. And the Oval Office and all of these different places and monuments, as fancy as they look and sound, and the history and the tours and all that, it's far from it. It's a complete insurrection. It's a complete infiltration of our country through a small piece of land, just like they did in the Vatican in Italy. Vatican is its own country within Italy, just like they did in London and the UK and in the European Union. London is its own institute. It's its own piece of land. It's got its own rules. It's got its own regulations. And that's where a lot of these heads of these snakes of the cabal is stemmed from. And then you tie it in with Ukraine, Israel, and other parts of the Middle East, South America, Africa. They have found ways to create strongholds to keep us tied down, to keep us locked down through the military, through religion, through money. Those are the three big pillars, right? The three head of the snake: the religion aspect in the Vatican, the monetary aspect in London, and the military aspect in DC with our military industrial complex. Because America has the strongest military, and that's proven with the technology. We're light years ahead of where we actually know and what we've been told. Like the world that we live in, we're 100 years behind of where we should be. And so when we say the future will prove the past and we're going back to the future, we're erasing this timeline we've been on that has taken us downhill in a downward spiral, and we're coming out of that better, and we're starting to rise now from the ashes based on what just happened in this last week. So now that we now that we could talk about this, and looking back, because I hear the arguments before we get into what actually happened here, is the argument is this: there's not really an argument, it's more of a fact, right? So right, left, Democrat, Republican, elephant, donkey, this, that, black, white, it's all two wings of the same bird. That is the common thing. Where on the one side, whoever you vote for, there's someone on the other side that will say the opposite just to make you happy, and then you'll fight with each other. You'll pick a side, you'll separate, more division each time, and every time there's the election, there was a separation. Okay, and that's sometimes that's what happens. Yet, no matter what side you picked, they already instilled those two people. They're no different. They're one and the same. And that is true. We've experienced that with Bushes, with the Clintons, with the Obamas, and it's gone back and forth with Biden. If you look, the same, I think in the last, 20, 30 years, there's been the same 4 or 5 politician families: the Biden family, the Bush family, the Clinton family, and the Obama family, that have been involved in either presidencies, vice presidencies, or higher levels of government cabinets. Interesting, right? So yes, to that text, to that statement, they were instilled there. No matter what vote you did, they were always going to win. No matter who you vote for, they were both bad. They were both not good. They both had nefarious agendas disguised as good until something happened. And this is where it starts to get crazy. Until 2016 happened, when all of a sudden this guy named Donald Trump declared his presidency candidate. Now, remember, Donald Trump, before you get triggered on it, he's just a symbol. He's a man. He's a human. Yeah, he's a grandpa. He's almost 80 years old. He's got a bunch of grandkids. He's a billionaire. Like, the last thing he needs to do is go put his life on the line for years and years and decades, really, to help this country get back on track. And a lot of things that people say about Donald Trump and all the things, I totally get, of course. 99% of us, almost 100%, will never meet the guy. We're never going to be near him or his vicinity or his family or anything. So in a way, just like some of you listening to this may never ever meet me in person. So in a way, I'm just a character in your own reality. I'm just a character in your movie. I'm just a figure. I'm just someone on the screen or someone listening in your ear. But until you actually physically connect with me, I'm no more than an illusion. I'm no more than different than AI, so to speak. So for a lot of people, if not all of us, Donald Trump is just a character in your game. He's a character in your movie, and he's representing the population. He's representing the people. He's not coming in as a politician. He has no experience in Congress or the Senate or the House or in the presidential cabinets or any three-letter agencies. He's a self-made billionaire entrepreneur. He's had a lot of trials and errors. He's gone through a lot of ups and downs. He's had a lot of mistakes. He's learned about bankruptcy laws. He's been around the Hollywood scene. He's seen what they do with our banking. He's seen what happened in 9/11. He's talked about these things openly. He would tweet even before he became president about certain things with pedophilia and certain things about weakening the US dollar and manufacturing. He just cares about this country so much because this country gave him the life he lives today. Beautiful family, grandkids, booming business, help. He's given donations. He's bailed people out. There's a lot of amazing documentaries. And again, I'm just telling you because I've watched them. I've been curious about them because I used to have my opinion about him. I used to think similar things that the mainstream media would say. I used to believe everything I would read and hear on social media before I actually said, hold up. Let me actually go look into this. Let me actually go read about this person. Let me actually go listen about some things. Let me go look at some of his books. I purchased a ton of his books. Let me go actually learn about his energetics and like, what is his human design? Like, why is he here? Like, what happened when he was born? What happened in the stars? Who are his family connected to? And when you start to connect these drops, oh my gosh, it is so much bigger than you can imagine. And if there's anyone that had the ability energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, mentally, more so mentally, and then the willpower, the discipline, the work ethic, the resiliency, the ability to bounce back, the ability to learn from mistakes, the ability to keep going and never quit, the ability to keep fighting for what you believe is right. He literally checks every box. He's never drank. He's never smoked. He's never done a drug. He used to be in the army. He was in the military. And then he's been in public. He's been seen creating businesses. He's done in the financial sector. He's lived in New York. He knows certain people in the mafia. He knows people in Hollywood. The man has literally been everywhere. And the last thing a part of his life before he transitions to leaving this political space and passing it on to the next generation, because he's not always going to be here forever. But we are living in times where this man has done everything to put himself out there to give us back a voice. And so when in 2016, even before that, when he was talking about being the president, he was actually approached by the US military. The good one. Remember, there's two types. There's always the good and bad, right? The deep state and the real republic. The USA Incorporated, and then America, the country, the constitutional republic, the democracy, and so forth. He was approached by these military generals and said, hey, the rate things were going, if nothing changes, our country is done for. We will be a communist country. We will be a third world country. We will have detention camps. We will have massive food shortages. We're going to have nuclear war. We're going to have a population shrink down to nothing. We need to change something. And so we need you to run for president because we have a plan that's been here for a long time, the Q plan. We have a plan that we can do and operate, but it only has to be when someone good is in power to take that power back for the world, not only the people of the US, but also the people of humanity. So imagine being asked that. Imagine being asked, hey, tap on your shoulder. We need you. The future of the country is on the line. And if you don't do this, we're all doomed, including you and your children and their kids won't have a country to grow up in. Can you imagine being 80 years old and the success you've had and the life you've built and what you've created, only to be approached and hear that potentially that the future for your kids and their kids' kids are pretty much bleak to none at the rate we're going because of what the Clintons were looking to do, what the Obamas did internationally, what the kill shot was, if you guys did not know this, and I'll say this in about a minute or less, there was an end goal. There was an end game for the deep state. Do you know what that was? It was the population to be brought down to 500 million, not 8 billion. How do you do that? 10-year lockdowns. You guys know the lockdown in 2020? That was nothing. That was a tease. We were supposed to be down and locked down for 10 years. The only way you come out, you have to get, you know what? You have to get jabbed. You have to get jabbed 10 times because there's all these COVID variants. There's all these strains. And if you refused and you left your house under martial law, the military would take you to FEMA camps and you would never be seen again. And no one could post about it because our social media would have been centralized with mass censorship. No one could talk about it because you would be taken by the military. And slowly but surely, everyone of faith, everyone of beliefs, everyone of values and morals, everyone fighting and standing for the truth would be removed quietly and swiftly and taken to FEMA camps, never to be seen again. This is the Agenda 2030. And for those that remained, in order to function in society, you then would have to get your digital ID. And that's where you bring in Bill Gates. And that digital ID would be tied to what? A CBDC and Bitcoin. I know. It's going to trigger some people that own Bitcoin. That's why I don't touch that stuff. Okay. Now, I'm not here to say that we're still on that timeline with Bitcoin. However, that was the path. That was the original plan. Bitcoin would be used and adopted by everybody because it would slowly destroy the world, energy efficient, take too long, but also it would be tied to the CBDC credit system that you would now have a social credit score. And you guys have seen that in parts of China and the world, but it's falling apart. It's not actually coming to fruition. So that was the goal. Mass lockdowns, constant pushing of fear on mainstream media, 500 million population. And that was on the Georgia Guidestones that were created by the cabal. CBDC, social credit tracking system, no freedom. So the World Economic Forum saying you won't own nothing and be happy. You are going to eat bugs. You're going to live in pods. You're going to do what you're told. And so this only place that we could escape to from our homes in this lockdown would be the digital world, virtual reality. And they wanted you on the headsets and they wanted you to be poisoned with seed oils, be poisoned with heavy metals, bombarded with blue light frequencies and non-native EMF, being pummeled with chemtrails from the sky, go drink a water, fluoride in your brain, go eat some food, chemical and preservatives and fake food in your body, fake foods in the world, and feeling so tired, broken, locked down, disconnected from God, no spiritual connection, no community, that you will either commit suicide, depression, anxiety, and you're going to need more medications, more pills, and that's how you destroy the world. Are you still with me? Pretty crazy, right? And again, don't believe me. And you don't even have to think about all this anymore because we're not going down that direction. That's why it's so amazing. We're not going down that timeline. That timeline changed a long time ago when Trump said yes. So as soon as he said yes, there was the Law of War manual that was recreated. It was reestablished and republished. And every country that came along board with this alliance to defeat the New World Order and the deep state agenda got and signed on with it. Not only as the Law of War manual was enacted, but also we started to implement a new financial system in the background, one that was backed by gold, precious metals. That is the last thing the deep state wanted us to have, is returning back to a gold standard. Because remember, follow the money. They wanted this, not this. They wanted this, not this. Big difference. So now, fast forward, you have 2016 happen, and Donald Trump wins the election. And there was a Q post saying they never thought she would lose. She was Hillary Clinton. And so they rigged the votes in favor of Hillary. But there were so many people, they call it the silent majority, that came out and voted that year. And it surprised them. And they weren't prepared for the amount of people that were voting for Donald Trump, because a lot of people, including you, have been awake for a long time. You've seen what's going on. Not only you as civilians and everyday people of the U.S., people at higher levels, people in corporate media, people in good and nonprofits, people in humanitarian projects, people in the military, people in the judicial system. You cannot say every person is evil and corrupt. That's unfair. There are a lot of good people out there. It's just up to us to realize that and know that in the movie Star Wars, there are the Jedi and they're the Sith. The only difference is the Jedi are not bad. where we've been led to believe sometimes that this party is better, this party is worse, but still that better party is still very, very evil. And if you look at the actions of what Trump has done with executive orders, with certain emergency acts, with certain documents, with certain US codes, military intervention, and his global tour, which I'll talk about on a different episode, he found a way to create an alliance with the world first. And then he found a way to start infiltrating the deep state from within and slowly do something what is called devolution. So devolution is dissolving the government from the inside out. It's like taking all the power, all the energy, all the corruption, all the negativity, and pulling it out, flipping it into good and giving it back to you, we the people. And so when he won, if you go back to his inauguration in 2016, I want you to go look back and recognize something. When he came out and spoke for the first time after being elected on Inauguration Day, he said something very important. And not only did he say something very important, he had certain people with him. And for the first time, a sitting U.S. president brought out actually top military generals. And those generals actually represent the JAG, which is the judicial, I forget what the JAG, it's called the JAG, judicial attorney, no. You'll have to look up JAG courts. And there's like all sorts of other, it's a military court. It's military level operations, and the Military Intelligence Committee and the alliance with our Navy and the Marines and the Armed Forces have learned how to pretty much have warfare underground, how to have overseas combat and work against very, very interesting, I'm not going to go there, but certain entities that are not human on this earth. That's a whole nother conversation too. So he brought out the military with him. He brought out these top generals, and they were only there for a little bit. You could see them right behind him, and they had certain hats and certain colors and certain symbols that were telling the people that there is justice going to about to happen, that they were going to go after these criminals, because for so long, the president that we have been electing from these elections for decades have been instilled there to protect the criminals. And so nothing the military could do, because they had to follow the book. They had to follow the orders of the sitting president, because they were elected by the we the people, even though we know that the people don't vote for them. They are just elected by the deep state shadow government that is behind all of this and funneling it. So it's kind of being caught in two places. But when Trump won, that changed. And so one of the biggest things he said after the military left him behind, he said that they're taking power away from the bureaucrats, the lobbyists, the corporate entities, the foreign interests, the traitors, the criminals at the highest level from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. That was it. That was the mission. It was to go back to how it all started, go back to the golden age that America was about to be living in, and go back to the time where we created a government that we chose, that we decided what they do, how many of them are involved, and how many things they get to do, because they were the servants. So when Trump won that first time, he started that and flipped it back. We finally flipped the coin from the wrong side to the right side. We literally flipped that coin. And since that coin has been dominoing into the world we live in today, which you're seeing it getting exposed left and right. You cannot stop it. So as those years goes on, right, Trump also admitted he made mistakes. He was hiring people he shouldn't. It was his first time at such a position that could you go and run the country and go negotiate with the whole world and keep that all in your mind and get counseled by military generals and secretary of states and department officials? Do you really think you could do that? I couldn't. You couldn't. Nobody could. He could, because he was built for it. He was trained for it. He had the mental ability for it. He was so clear, and they say he's one of the best chess players in the world. There's a lot of interesting facts about this man. It's very interesting that he was able to learn all this. And so did he make every decision correct? No. And he admitted it. And that's how he actually learns. He's a true trial and error. He's a 1-3 in human design. If you shout out human design, go watch one of my episodes about it. 1-3 man-gen in human design. So he's always investigating ways to find the holes and cracks and foundations and to make them better. And then his mind, he goes through what doesn't work and what does, and then he implements that so it doesn't happen again. So his first term was just to get an idea of what this is all about. How does this work? How do you write these orders? How do you demand this? How do you change the economy? How can you influence that? How can I fire certain people? That was his first term. that first term also started the awakening process thanks to the Q boards that we talked about. So Q was like a military intelligence operation where they would drop certain codes on the Q board, and then that would give people like me, people like you, truthers, conspiracy theorists, detectives, researchers, it would give us data to go research, connect dots, and share it with the public. It was a direct channel from the military, Trump, to the US population. That was the only way. When JFK was assassinated due to wanting to put us back on a silver standard or a new currency that was within the Treasury, Executive Order 11110, right after he declared that, that's when they assassinated him. So they say. But here's the thing. There was no Instagram back then. We didn't have XApp when JFK was alive. We didn't have Facebook or TikTok or YouTube. We didn't have the Joe Rogan podcast. We didn't have Tucker Carlson. We didn't have Elon Musk. So you have to realize that the plan couldn't happen when they tried to do it with JFK. It had to happen now, because now we, the people, are the media. We are the news. We are the voice. We are actually telling the facts and the truth and getting it right while the media is collapsing and crumbling and the narrative is literally slowly falling apart. We are winning, you guys. We are winning so big, and we're going to keep winning. We're going to keep winning and winning and winning. You cannot stop it. And so that first 4 years, a lot of people were starting to wake up. They were questioning. Obviously, you had everyone come out and hate it. You had all the DC paid puppets and the actors and celebrities get pissed off and all of a sudden turn on Trump and this and that because he was exposing them. He was calling out the fake news. He was doing things that we've always wanted to say and do, but just none of us could get to that level. We couldn't just show up at the White House and demand change. We couldn't write or sign a piece of paper and make an order happen. Only he could. And so he was now becoming that symbol. Now 2020 happens, and we know what happened there. And that's when people woke up to the election fraud. That's when people woke up to manipulation of the ballots and voter ID and how broken our system has been, how broken our country, other countries have been, because most of these other countries that do these voting processes, they follow the United States. They use the same types of servers, the same type of voting machines, certain mail-in ballots, certain undocumented illegal immigrants to sway and manipulate the population to vote for one candidate or another so their agendas can continue to go without question. That's what it always comes back to. And so 2020, you guys know what happened that year, right? They didn't want him back again because another term would be the end of him. The first term was exposing them. The first term started to make people realize something is off and wrong, but there was still too much resistance, still too corrupt to really enact. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, there were still events taking place, certain arrests, military tribunals, which you can look up independently. You're not going to find it on the mainstream. So 2020 hits, you have the lockdowns, you have the economy, you have all these issues. And all of a sudden, Biden comes out of the basement, gets 81 million votes, wins the election. Boom, they stole it. That was a sting operation. And I hope people realize that. A lot of us, we wanted Trump back, this and that, but it just wasn't time yet. And looking back in the perception of it all, it makes total sense. Now, for 4 years since 2020, how many of you have woken up? How many of you have had your parents woke up? How many of you have had friends wake up, neighbors wake up, kids wake up, other people wake up? People you never thought are now questioning it, because these 4 years now showed the people corruption at its finest. It showed the Hunter Biden laptops. It showed the big pharma monopoly. It showed the mainstream media censorship. It showed the chemical cleaning companies. It showed the manufactured mandates, and it showed the pandemic. It showed the, where the virus is, our virus is real. It showed about inflation. It taught us about trafficking with these movies that came out. If you look back from 2020 to 24, those 4 years were the most red-pilled awakening years I think humanity has ever seen. Maybe until the next 4 years, because it's going to get even crazier. So we woke up those years. Not you, we, the people. The majority of this country and this world woke up. That's where the protests happened all around the world. You didn't see it on the media. That's where the revolutions were happening. The people standing up and demanding change and demanding leaders. And all of a sudden, CEOs started resigning. Banks started collapsing. Celebrities started disappearing. People started getting quiet. Politicians started stepping down. Presidents started getting removed. But if you weren't paying attention, you'll miss all of this. And that's what they want you to do. They don't want you to see it. They want you distracted. Focus on what doesn't matter. Keeping up, right? Carrot on the stick, chase and hustle and grow and do all these things. Meanwhile, we're missing the greatest transfer happening of all time. So those 4 years woke us up. Meanwhile, it was a sting operation for the U.S. military. And all this military stuff is documented. I would recommend checking out Derek Johnson. He has a website called thedocuments.info. There's also tons of information about TikTok, Telegram. He's got all sorts of things that he proves of these military operations that you can actually check for yourself. And there's a bunch of other sources as well, but that is a really, really good start in case you want to dive in deeper. Because sometimes when I say it, it doesn't mean anything because I'm not in the military. I've never done. I just shot my first automatic gun a few months ago, and that was a rush. But who can I say? I'm here doing a podcast here in California in my house. So you have to look at the bigger picture, not just me. I'm just giving you clues in case you are curious. Okay. So now fast forward. And now this last part is about what just happened this last week. So 2024 is here, election year. You've got all these things happen. You've got Biden all of a sudden saying he's not going to run for the next year. You have Harris that is now injected without the vote, just placed in there by the puppets, whoever's left. There's only a few guys. The deep state cabal's done. It's all over. They're screwed. They've lost. It's checkmate. They're just waiting to play out their last moves. We have the counters. We already know the next steps they're going to take. Everything is prepped and ready for that smooth transition. It could still get scary. Still get a little bumpy, could still see some things before Trump is officially back over the next, 72 days, the next 3 months, because there's this weird window now. He won the presidential elect, but now he can't do anything until January. So a lot can happen in these 3 months, and that's what I'm going to keep an eye on, and you should keep an eye on as well. So the election was last week, November 5th. Obviously, the buildup was pretty intense. Everywhere you look, Trump, Harris, the signs, the talk show hosts, the media, everyone was doing their part to spit out what they think was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that we were going to win. However, it was going to happen, whether it was through corruption, cheating, fraud, or outright just people showing up and demanding change. So leading up to it, what they started to do to negate the cheating and the fraud again, because I believe there was election interference again, and they caught it all. Trump had left out a series of cryptic tweets saying that if you were to get involved in election interference, you would be guilty and we will arrest you and you will be tried. And I think that scared a lot of smaller people, like smaller agents that kind of get paid. Here's $500, go add 1,000 votes. It's these little bribes. And remember, because our monetary system is broken and people don't have money, people will do whatever it is for money, especially it is to survive. So that's how you get the world to do things for you. It's blackmail through money manipulation. So they set everything up. They had people vote early. They tabulated the votes. There's obviously Space Force and certain departments that were overseeing this. There was certain algorithms that were catching any flipping of votes. And towards the last week or so, Trump goes on the Joe Rogan podcast, J.D. Vance goes on, and all of a sudden now it's like RFK gets appointed to take down Big Pharma. It all happened perfectly. It was like a buildup. Meanwhile, on the other side, people that were supporting, for no policies, there was no change that was going to happen. Obviously, everyone knew that, Harris was completely a puppet and she had no clue what to say if there was no teleprompter or predetermined questions, and it got exposed. It's very unfortunate. And for people to only look at it through a small linear perspective and seeing the bigger picture of the change that we can make and that can happen in this world, we've gotten very attached again to the victim complex of we need someone to save us. Because here's the thing, Trump is not going to save you. You have your own shit to deal with. He's not going to come make your bed. He's not going to come put food on your table and go to your grocery store. He's not going to go work your job for you. He's not going to go handle your divorce or take care of your conflict with your kids or, heal your childhood trauma. That's on you. That's on me. That's on us. He's just going to do things that can help the economy. He's going to do things to protect our borders. He's going to do things to make sure that there's no more censorship of free speech, things that I could never do and you could never do. And I think it's important to actually get excited about that. Because it's very easy to say, oh, Trump's one of them. He's evil. He's just kind of pushing this. And until 4 years go by, and if we're in a worse place than we are today, hey, I'm right there with you. I'm wrong about it all. I'll be the first to admit, episode 11, I was wrong about everything. 99.9999999% chance that doesn't happen. And if it did, it would be the biggest, ultimate, opposite psyop of a psyop of a psyop that humanity has ever experienced. And if that's the case, I just don't even have no hope for the future whatsoever. But good news is we're not going down that direction. But that's just how dark it could get. That's like taking the black pill again and saying, oh, No more income tax. Oh, this is a setup. He's trying to set us up for something. It's like, at what point does negativity, pessimism, fear, everything is bad, everything is evil, there is nothing good? At what point does that actually benefit anyone? It benefits nobody. It doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit me. It might give you your ego a rush of like your voice is being heard, but that's about it. So for those that continue to be fearful, continue to be negative, whether you voted or not, whether you voted for Trump or Biden or completely watch from the sideline, I just pray that you're contributing in some positive way to this world. I pray that you are taking care of your health, you're thinking good thoughts, that you're holding the door for a stranger, that you're not judging people, that you're avoiding stereotypes, obviously of not being a racist person, obviously being a kind person, obviously caring about your neighbors and loved ones, obviously generating wealth for your children, taking care of the land. Like, I pray that you do that. Because if you are complaining and you are negative and you are pessimistic and you are just a doomer and gloomer and a black pillar and you're not doing anything to contribute, literally go sit with yourself. That is so selfish and so bad that I hope none of you are even listening to this, because it's going to trigger the crap out of you. But for those that are and want to change, please do so. We were just starting. This is just happening. We're not even a week into him being a presidential elect, and the amount of things that have happened, the amount of change, I'm going to read you a couple. The amount of change that has occurred in just the last 72 hours is absolutely profound. Since he became presidential elect, here's what has happened. Presidential elect, he hasn't even done anything yet. Since that has happened, here's what has occurred. We have had the first female chief of staff appointed. We have had New York City to stop giving debit cards to illegal immigrants. U.S. companies are now moving production back to the U.S. thanks to the tariffs that are going to be enacted. The stock market has hit all-time highs, which I don't know if that is the best thing. Same with Bitcoin, because the newest migrant caravans have been breaking up. Qatar agrees to evict Hamas leaders. Hamas wants immediate end to war. The Taliban claims they want a new chapter of peace. China wants peaceful coexistence. Russia is ready to speak with the U.S. finally. The EU wants to buy U.S. gas, not from Russia. And Ukraine wants to talk to Trump and Elon about stopping the war in Ukraine. That was in 2 days. The amount of change, the amount of good that is happening, that has just started, is absolutely incredible. And so, again, it's up to us, we the people, to take our power back. We are now getting a chance. Trump was simply a symbol, a representation of our collective, a representation of not only the American people all over the world, free speakers, thought leaders, conspiracy theorists, truthers, healers, holistic practitioners, like homeschooling families, mothers and fathers, strong values, morals, people of spiritual restitution, people that actually want to make this place a better world. He was a voice for us. I couldn't do it at that level. I have a podcast, I have a social media, cool. He had a different level. Those people at that higher level gave us a voice and a chance. And that's what it's all about. It's about giving power back to the people. It's about decentralizing our government. It's about taking of what has been beautiful and has been taken into corruption and flipping it right back outside. It's about restoring our constitutional republic. It's about reshaping this USA Incorporated and dissolving it completely, along with the Vatican and the royal family and all these other corruptions. It's about giving the people a say in how we operate, what we do, the policies we enforce, how we do them, term limits, executive, all these things that we have had the power once before briefly until it was taken away from us. It's about giving the power back to us. So we cannot sit by and be stagnant. We cannot sit by and just wait and hope for change, or for our bills to be paid, or for, a breakthrough to happen, or for our health to improve. We have to just know that at the highest level, good things are happening. There will be justice. There will be people held accountable. There will be change. There will be resignations. There will be tribunals. There will be arrests. There will be those things that's happening right now. We are on a beautiful golden timeline, as Trump said. The golden era is just beginning. A new monetary system. We're going to have a new social system. We're going to have a new education system. We're going to have cleaner streets. No more homeless, taking care of our veterans. We're going to have better mental health. We're going to make sure men and women have those rights that they're designed to by being children of God. We're going to have patents released. We're going to have free energy. We're going to have Tesla technology. We're going to be able to travel to stars. We're going to have quantum teleportation. We're going to have healing centers. We're going to have clean water, no more fluoride or chemicals. We're going to have clean skies without chemtrails. We're going to have amazing food that is grown from nutrient-rich soil thanks to a restructuring of the FDA and the USDA and all these three-letter agencies. We're going to have healthy children for the future. We're going to have no more of these vaccine mandates. We're going to have a beautiful system that can thrive and help you truly grow on land or with community. We're going to have a decentralized economy. We're going to have a level playing field. We're going to have gold backing our system. We're going to have holistic healthcare. We're going to end big pharma, eliminate the drug cartels. We're going to take down big mainstream media and censorship of big tech. And truly, guys, the best is yet to come. Oh my gosh, what a time to be alive. And it started on November 5th, a day we will remember where not a president won. Trump did not win. That was not the day. That was the day that the world finally realized that America still has a heart. America is still alive. America has a ticker, and that we, the people, are ready to change. We are ready to take accountability. We are ready to step up. We are ready to start blaming and projecting and pointing our finger. We are ready to truly make this country great. Not again, forever. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to stand by. And so this country has crashed. We have burned. We have been a pile of ash. We have seen the darkest days, the gloomiest times, the most fear, pain, disease, and corruption. We've been in the dark ages, the bronze ages, where war and manipulation and corruption, where it's competition and destruction. And if the only way to win is if someone loses or dies, we are leaving that timeline. We are entering a new age, the age of Aquarius, the age of enlightenment. 1,000 years plus of peace and prosperity and heaven on earth, where we will make quantum shifts that would take us thousands of years are going to be done in multiple years. What we are going to do is change the structure of time. We are going to change the way energy is manipulated, and we're changing the way that energy is harnessed and used for our good with abundance, peace, and prosperity for the humans, for the plants, for the animals, for the mushrooms, the bacteria, the trees, the mountains, the streams, the rivers, the soil that we literally live in, the air that we literally breathe, and everything here that makes this place so amazing. We are literally in heaven right now. This place is heaven on earth. This is the closest thing to heaven. There is no other place like this in the galaxy, in the universe, as far as we know. This is it. And you being here at this time, you listening to this at this time, you being a part of this great awakening at this time, come on. Come on. Take a deep breath. Just realize what a time to be alive. Stay optimistic. Stay hopeful. Be proud. Take care of yourself. Smile more. Laugh. Be kind. Have compassion. Have forgiveness. Feel empathy. Be kind. Have gratitude. Be open. Let yourself feel. Speak your mind. Truly visualize good things happening. God is on your side. We are not alone in this. There is no mistakes. There are only just imperfections that lead us closer to that perfect world. We all have to realize that we have a role to play. Whatever it is that you do, however it is that you act, you are a part of this no more than I am. You are a part of this just as Trump is, just as the Q team, just as the military, just as the good people in high places are. We have a role to play. So I pray this gives you excitement. I pray this painted a picture for you. I pray this gives you hope. I pray this gives you optimism. We have a lot of work to do. And like I always say, nothing can stop what is coming, you guys. We have just turned the page historically. And regardless of what happens next, it's on us to make the change. Nothing can stop what is coming. The best is yet to come. And we are truly coming out better for a better outcome. Love you guys. Hope you love this episode. Share this, subscribe, leave me a comment, leave me a rating. Let's get this out to the world. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care.